joining us in studio is the president of the Trinidad Olympic Committee. Very tired man, but he took the time to get in here this morning, and for that I am thankful. Good morning to you, Mr. Lewis.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure, and thank you for having the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee on your program. We really appreciate the opportunity.
And we appreciate having you here. The judo contingent that's going speaks well for the expansion of Trinidad and Tobago's participation in this.
Well, I think in a broader context, it's absolutely fantastic that we have some sports for the first time, of which judo and rowing, two in particular that jump out, gymnastics. And in terms of the boxing, the super heavyweight, but in particular judo and the rowing, Christopher George and Aisha Chow. What is even more interesting is that it really represents the kind of maybe strategic approach that is important, because these were two athletes basically who would have set out on a journey. Notwithstanding the infrastructure around them, or the absence of the infrastructure. And I think that from the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee's perspective, you have to acknowledge the various sporting associations for facilitating the passage of the athletes' efforts in the context of judo. I mean, they do have a very a leader in terms of Wed Eastman and the secretary Alana Corby and the technical director Mark Latrin, who are athlete focused in terms of allowing athletes. Their focus is about doing what is best for the sport and expanding participation. But it has to be said that Christopher George took an approach and he transferred from other sports, and he decided. I mean, it's like this Odyssey he would have set out maybe in terms of he moved himself to being an Olympic qualifier in 4 years, 3.5, and as you would have heard Mark Latrin say that initially there was a lot of skepticism about it, but he backed himself. He actually accepted VSEP. He's very well qualified. And he sacrificed. I think he said something about one of the top athletes. I don't know who it was that told him his dream wasn't impossible, but he had to do it full time. And he literally did that. He backed himself, and he went about taking no no's for an answer. And the rest is history, and he deserves enormous credit. It's also the similar approach Ms. Chow took to qualify for the Olympics. So it represents some of the other alternatives that, and I'm glad that the respective sports looked at the different pathways to create an Olympian, and that credit. It's an exciting time. I think Rio 2016 is a watershed for Trinidad and Tobago, and Trinidad and Tobago Olympics in Trinidad and Tobago. In 2012, we had 6 sports. And about 30 athletes. We're just about a couple of days away from finalizing the selection, but I think that we may just exceed the record in terms of athletes going to the games and sports. Certainly sports at this point is about 8 sports, of which, as I said, judo and things. Tremendously exciting. It's going to be our 17th Summer Olympic Games. And, on paper, we're supposed to have a good time, but that's always on paper.
You tip your hat, as I do too, to Mark Latrin and Christopher George, and because
Wed Eastman also and Alana Corby,
right, because of the standing on their own feet and working themselves into this position. Brings me the question though, particularly in the area of sports, do we have something that the TOC, Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, coordinate, overlook, advise government, or work with these bodies to help them in setting up their training camps, in nurturing this talent to come to the fore? I understand that you are the Olympic Committee. I understand that you deal with it from the level after the clubs. But is there a coordinated approach towards nurturing this raw talent, getting these organizations organizations to follow certain proven guidelines, stuff like that you have access to, your organization, I mean, that could assist them in charting the course for these young people?
It's about what we offer is a lot of capacity building opportunities, coaching courses. We're currently doing a pilot project in long-term athlete development program planning. But to be very candid, the development of an individual sport is really the remit of the national federation and the international federation. While you have to have an ecosystem or an infrastructure that allows athletes, the children to enter the sport, have fun, enjoy it, and those who are talented and have the talent for the specific sport, there is a pathway, a continuum. It requires a whole ecosystem that involves the integration of the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, Sport Company, UTT, UE, the schools, the clubs, the national federations. And that has been a bit problematic, getting that architecture joined up, because sport in Trinidad and Tobago is still very much considered recreation and leisure, and therefore, but it's changing. But I tend not to focus too much on, I tend to focus more on the opportunities, the challenges present. And what the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee has been doing is that we have been very focused on three essential pillars: good governance, athlete-centered, and market-driven. And it's particularly in the area of market-driven that at the last we have spent a lot of focus as an Olympic Committee, trying to also set the example in terms of getting away from the entitlement, handout kind of dependency kind of syndrome into a more market-driven approach. It has been climbing a bit of Mount Everest, but I think we're getting there in terms of getting the mindset and the culture to change. A simple thing such as doing interviews with people like yourself, networks such as yourself. That's not something the national sporting organizations see as part of their brand building and marketing drive. And if you look at what's happening in the world of sport, it's very much about your branding and your market position.
Well, you did say we are changing, and we are, because now we're talking in terms of sport tourism, which is something that, when they talk about the facilities now, they talk about training facilities.
But that's still separate,
bring people in.
That's at the macro level. I'm talking about like how, okay, so like in the case of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, we have set up a marketing department. You have Chanel Young, Reza Grant, project officers dealing with different aspects. And actually going out to market and reaching out to corporate partners, working with the athletes to help them build their brand, trying to create brand ambassador opportunities. So it's a whole sea change in terms of the strategic marketing perspective. So that here we have the Olympics just about 27 days away, and it's a lot of work getting Trinidad and Tobago to buy into the process. We have different things trying to generate funding, raise awareness, because generally Trinidad and Tobago, we like to wait until the event happens, until the Olympics is here, and you wake up and say, wait, Olympics, what station is on, and viewing, and then, when something happens, medals are won, then we just, but it requires more than that, and that's where it has been a tremendously exciting time for the Olympic Committee, and its affiliates and corporate partners. It has had its ups and downs. Well publicized situations that we have had to overcome, but it has been tremendously exciting. We're going into an Olympic Games that, since I've been involved in the Olympic movement, I've never experienced an Olympic Games that has been so traumatic in terms of the build-up. I think that Rio, it's like every single day, the news feed sends out something. It's something negative happening in Rio, and it's 27 days to go. It's as I said, but all of these things at the end of the day, come the 5th of August, when the Parade of Nations it starts, and billions of people around the world will be watching. Trinidad and Tobago athletes will be walking out representing the Team TTO.
There are two questions I have here. One of them has to do with parts of that you already imparted to us, but I'll ask you to revisit it and articulate the mission statement slash of the TTOC, so folks understand exactly what is the purpose and the function of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee. Yeah, we can put a lot of things together because we see that you don't get out there unless they go through you. We understand that as it relates to the Olympics. But specifically, what is the charter of the Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, a good question. It's simple. At its basic level, the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee has sole and exclusive authority for the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, Pan Am Games, Central American and Caribbean Games, Youth Olympic Games, Youth Commonwealth Games, so that at its base level, we are responsible, the body responsible for the selection of the team, working with the national sporting organizations and national governing bodies to prepare these teams, get them to the relevant respective games, and that's it. And as part of that, we are responsible for trying to find ways to aid the athletes to spread the word of Olympism, the power of sport, the values of Olympism, which is respect, friendship, and excellence, and those are the soft parts of it. But the hardcore part of it that Trinidad and Tobago recognizes and only sometimes sees the Olympic Committee, the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, is when it's time for the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games.
Or when we have something like occurred the other day with the Gymnastics Federation and the Olympic Committee had to state exactly where they are, how much power they have, exactly what role they can play in correcting that impasse. I see you. I see you twist your head.
We have done even with that. I mean, that was just high profile, but the reality is that the Olympic Committee has dealt with those things in various forms and dealt with all the other things for the last 70 years.
I'm not saying that is what singularly what you do. That's not.
I know.
What I was saying is most folks see you when something like that comes up, and you're more than that. Hence the reason I ask you to explain what is the function of the committee.
No. I appreciate that. I mean, it's just that it's just one of those like raw nerves, that you get kind of a little bit defensive. You want to say, hey, you're not saying that.
Because many folks wonder, okay, if you are the entree, you are the gatekeeper. Yes. Of athletes.
The keeper of the flame.
Right. Of folks going up, they're going to ask the question that what kind of monitoring does the Olympic Committee do for these various sports bodies on a local level to ensure that the fair play, accountability, the good programs and so on.
It's one of that's. People say that's a really intriguing kind of thing, because at the end of the day, the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee is an umbrella body made up of member organizations. Each have their autonomy. Each report to the International Federation. Then you have Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs inside of there. Then you have 14 of them to 16 that deals with sport company.
But then the only way I can get there is through you.
That's right. But what I'm saying is that I'm going a little bit off script. But I remember the late Prime Minister Patrick Manning, right? God rest his soul. He always said that Trinidad and Tobago is not the easiest place to govern. It appears that it's only 1.3 million and it's supposed to be simple, but it's with such a complex diversity of people. And I'm saying that to say that when you trigger that down now, the Olympic Committee is an umbrella body that can 42 in national sport organizations affiliated to the Olympic Committee because they need to participate at the various games, right? We have some non-Olympic games. It's such a... And it has gotten more complex in the age of technology and social media. But you know what? Sports is such a powerful tool and a powerful emotive thing for young people and children that it's a sense of responsibility, duty, and obligation that all sporting organizations that act as stewards and servant leaders of this thing called sport, that we have this responsibility to get it right and learn as we go along, but we have to be stepping up, because at the end of the day, It's not just about the Olympic Games and medals. It's not just about athletes and young people, such as the Christopher Georges and all our athletes, from a Mark Burns, from a Darrell Brown, from a Richard Thompson, from a Kellyanne Batiste, Michelle Ai, that are taking their God-given talent and putting it out there and sharing it with the world on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago. And invariably, they do it a lot in spite of the sports system and the society in terms of how we view sport. You know what I mean? You still have, like, I heard a story, just forgive me, I don't have time, but recently that someone told me, I heard it repeated second, third, fourth time. So somewhere along the line, they in the telling, I don't know where the fact becomes fiction, but it went something like this, that they saw their son came on one day with a chalk mark on his forehead, a white chalk mark on his forehead. And he asked him what that was about. He said that the teacher put that on and to make sure that he wasn't playing, because if he went and played and he would sweat, it would rub the chalk off. That happens in modern Trinidad and Tobago, because of course with the SEA and all of these things, it's about passing this SEA so that play becomes an obstacle to passing for the school of your choice, which is terribly unfortunate. But I'm saying that's why there's this responsibility inside it, because you can't get Olympic champions unless children first learn to love to play sport.
Can I take your chalk analogy? The voice you're hearing is that of President of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, Brian Lewis. Can I use your chalk analogy for a moment? So is there a chalk mark on all these organizations that the umbrella body is going to watch to see if they're playing by the rules or if they sweat and they digress?
Yeah, we try, but...
I'm coming back, right?
No, but we really try. But at the end of the day, they're autonomous bodies and we can't impose. So we're working. It's about reaching out. It's about dialogue. It's about capacity building. And we're really trying to improve that. We run like about 4 to 5 sports admin courses, administration courses annually, and one advanced course. And then there's this pathway that we have that allows them to opportunity to do master's degrees level, executive master's level, and other high training opportunities in terms of, all with an effort to build capacity in terms of coaching, in terms of good governance. So we are working as best as we can. And like everything else, I tell people, situations happen, like gymnastics, and you learn from it and evolve in it, and you work with the stakeholders to improve on it, and that's why I tell people that we must not be afraid to embrace failure and mistakes and adversity, because that's how you grow. Champions, especially using a sport analogy, you can't become a champion without failure, without learning to lose, without growing through that adversity and that pain. So certainly can't become an Olympian and an Olympic medalist without having gone through that rite of passage, so to speak, of the flame of pain and
the agony of defeat and
the agony of
the
defeat,
taste of victory, as it were. All right, I've got 2 minutes with you, and I want to go into 2
I love
areas.
that time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it does. Are you concerned about it? Because you alluded to it earlier. We hear so many negative reports coming out of Rio, whether it be from a health standpoint, Zika virus, whether it be from a case of accommodation and or crime for athletes and so on. As the umbrella organization here, with all these bodies being for this purpose under your charge, are you concerned from a health standpoint, a safety standpoint?
Like every president of the 205 National Olympic Committee is going to be represented in Rio, we are all taking the necessary steps to ensure that our athletes and delegations are best informed as possible. But at the end of the day, we are all hunting medals, and you have to focus on what you can control, and what you can't control, you don't focus on. I mean,
you're satisfied with what is put in place by the.
I'm satisfied in
country.
this context. I absolutely have to trust the International Olympic Committee and the World Health Organization that in terms of Zika, that they know what they're doing, right?
Yes,
And therefore we feed off of that in terms of. I must give credit to both the Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, Darrell Smith, and the Minister of Health, Terence Dial Singh, because he have reached out. This is the Minister of Health in terms of the whole Zika and put the Chief Medical Officer and his ministry in contact with the Olympic Committee, and we'll be dealing with that through our Chief Medical staff, Dr. Terry Ali, and the chef de mission of the Olympic Games is Dr. Ian Hippolyte. So in that context, and short answer, I have to trust the people who we have entrusted. This is the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee and the IOC and the World Health Organization in terms of that Zika issue.
Many variables they are there. Talk to me about, in conclusion, your optimism at Trinidad and Tobago medaling at the Olympics this year.
I'm very optimistic because I have a lot of confidence in the talent and the potential and the determination of the athletes, the young people who are representing Trinidad and Tobago. They are really talented. They are going to give it their absolute best, and I think it's going to be exciting once they do their absolute best. I think if they perform up to their potential, we're in for some fun.
Yeah, it should be a good time. And the nation, of course, will be pushing hard in support of our athletes out there. I
hope so.
Yes, well, of course we will.
I know you would be, and I know Latoya would be, and I know everybody would. But sometimes the athletes feel that I can say that without it, that some of them have gone through some rough times this year, and that they have been treated to some very severe, strong kind of criticism and hard things that have left some of them a little bit. But as you accept that's Trinidad and Tobago. That's the downside of this beautiful, beloved Twin Island Republic.
Brian Lewis, thank you so much for taking the time this Sunday and coming out with us. I truly appreciate you being here. And on the raw nerve, maybe I'll get you at another time to step on that raw nerve, because I know you folks had a lot of meetings post the gymnastics situation. I'm not going to waste to take your time on that this morning, but I expect you to hear a greater liaison going on, and maybe there is one that I need to find out more about you after what came out of the meetings following that situation. Because again, you are the gateway. You are the one going to say, these are our people we are sending, and in order to make sure we send the best we have, we need to know that organizations are following how best to put this best practices in running their business and selecting people. But yes, all right, it is Sunday. I want to leave you alone. We will go to that another time, okay? He's listeners, you can't see it, but he's got that smile on. Oh God, Bishop, you don't want to go there. Brian, thank you so much for talking.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.